But yeah, you're right, a massive rebuild does need to take place. Ryan, if you're watching this, that's you calling me because you won't pick up your fucking phone. Hi guys, and welcome back to another week of TFW, the footballing show dominated by your opinions. Now, there obviously hasn't been much to talk about on the pitch in the last week, but loads to talk about off it. So let's get straight into it. First off, Drov Shenoy has written in, thanks so much, saying, what are your thoughts on my idea? He's an Arsenal fan, should cash in on Aubameyang and or Ozil like what Liverpool did with Coutinho, then use the money to improve major holes in our squad. Watching from the US, thank you so much for your opinion, your thought on the Arsenal squad. I'm not going to lie to you, there is no way that selling Aubameyang and Ozil is going to get you as much money as Philippe Coutinho did. Like, Coutinho went to Barca for like 120 million? 130 million, I think, if all the clauses are met. I mean, Mesut Ozil and Aubameyang, I believe, are both 30 years old, whereas Coutinho was like 26 or 25. And yeah, they're just not as good as players as he was at that time at Liverpool. Aubameyang's likely to fetch about 50 to 60, and if Ozil gets anything over 50, I'll be amazed. I just don't think they're going to get the same kind of money. Having said that, selling both of them and then plugging a few holes in the Arsenal squad doesn't actually sound like a bad idea. I mean, there was talk over the weekend that a potential swap deal between Aubameyang and Luka Jovic could happen. Who knows, if they can get the best out of him like we saw at Frankfurt. He's a goal scorer. That pretty much covers that Aubameyang-sized hole. Lacazette's obviously still there, and Gabriel Martinelli looks like an unbelievable youngster. And with Ozil, well, Arteta seems to be determined to get the best out of him, whatever the best of Ozil is now. But the way that Arsenal are looking and moving forward with a brilliant crop of young talents, I'm not so sure Ozil fits in, or if he's actually needed, or he will be missed. Don't get me wrong, a few years ago, Ozil, absolutely incredible. Definitely would have got in the Arsenal squad. But for now, no, maybe not so much. Ryan, if you're watching this, that's you calling me because you won't pick up your fucking phone. Check with the headphones. I did. Fucking idiot. So next up, Anand Jethwani. When I clap halfway. Next up, Anand Jethwani. A really, honestly, a big message here. We'll love it. Probably not going to read all of it out, but I'll give you guys the gist of it anyway. He's a massive Spurs fan. Favourite player is Harry Kane. And basically said Harry Kane should be leaving. He's not going to be able to succeed in the prime of his career, and Spurs could use this money to go through a painful rebuild. Yes, I have to agree with you. As much as every Spurs fan doesn't want to see Kane leave because he's Tottenham through and through, and he loves the club, and he obviously loves playing for them, and he's given them, honestly, more than enough chances to improve the squad, more than any other player. But yeah, you're right, a massive rebuild does need to take place. Probably with management, with Jose Mourinho within the next year and a half. As with players, my word, so much deadwood needs to be gotten rid of, so many new players need to be brought in. Is Kane really going to stick around to see if this rebuild even works? What if it doesn't work and Spurs are out of the Champions League for the next 10, 15 years? Maybe that's a bit exaggerating, but you never know. And obviously, a player's career is short and he wants to win as many trophies as he can. I wouldn't blame Harry Kane for leaving. As to where he'll go, this is the difficult decision. So, leaving Spurs for a team that's outside of the Champions League, probably only going to be Manchester United, because they're the ones who are going to have the financial backing to push to get back into the Champions League. As for the others, he won't join Arsenal, he won't join Chelsea. Liverpool seems like a bit of a push. Manchester City may be out of the Champions League, so we can only really see United in England. As for abroad, as you mentioned all the time, it's probably only the big guns that are going to be able to afford him and attract him. Juve, Real, Barca, Bayern, but they've all got to give him game time. This is the problem. I don't think Kane suits Barcelona, their style of play necessarily. He would still be great. I'm not sure he's a typical Barcelona player, but, you know, who knows? We all thought Coutinho was, and Griezmann, but that didn't go so well. Bayern have obviously got Lewandowski ahead of absolutely anybody. He is ahead of Kane. Juventus have got Ronaldo, and we'll wait to see what happens with Dybala. Higuain's probably not that much of a roadblock in terms of Kane's career. So that leaves me with Real Madrid. I mean, it's got all the makings of a Real Madrid signing, Harry Kane. I mean, they need a goal scorer who's going to replace the goals they lost to Ronaldo. And Karim Benzema tries his best year in, year out, but doesn't quite reach those levels. And at 32 years old is getting, you know, pretty much on the wrong side of his career. So, Kane to Real Madrid seems like the most realistic thing for me. Moving on, though, and to Ayalua Adugun, who said that I think Man United should sell De Gea for a good price and bring in Henderson. Henderson obviously on loan at Sheffield United. Even if he fails, Romero has proven to be a good backup keeper. If Romero is a good enough backup keeper, why wouldn't they just keep him as a backup keeper and not sell De Gea? Because surely, you saying Henderson's better than De Gea? I think Henderson's a brilliant keeper, but better than David De Gea is a bit of a stretch. I'm not sure. In fact, we'll leave it to you guys. Leave a poll here. Manchester United #1. De Gea, Henderson, or Sergio Romero. Right, next up, Sabyasachi Das has said Firmino is overrated. Bam. Shots fired here. People talk about his team playing the influence he has on the game, but this season he scored only 8 goals and provided 7 assists. Okay, we'll talk about this. There's so many stats to throw in here. He's a striker and his job is to score goals after all. Someone like Mane or Salah have roughly the same amount of assists and scored way more goals than him. Stats don't tell everything, it's just my opinion. I can see from a stats point of view why you'd probably think that, but I think that's all part of Liverpool's game plan. The way Firmino drops deep and links the midfield to the attack allows Salah and Mane to both push forward from a wide area into the box. So, yes, it's Firmino's job to score goals as a striker, but he doesn't actually really play too much as a striker. So therefore, Salah and Mane are supposed to be filling in the goals, which Firmino's not getting, which they do. So the tactic works. Liverpool got 3 attackers. As long as in these 3 attackers they get more than enough goals to beat the opposition, it doesn't matter who scores them, and I think that's correct. Having said that, I do agree that Firmino is a little bit overrated. Oh, actually, I need to get these stats up. So, the reason that I may think he's a little bit overrated is because, well, he plays in such a phenomenal team. Now, everyone always talks about Firmino all-round game, not necessarily just the goals, but also his defensive work rate and everything he does for the rest of the team. So, what I've done here is basically, on the Premier League, put in some comparisons between him and Richarlison. Now, the reason I've chosen Richarlison, both Brazilian forwards, but one playing for Liverpool, one playing for Everton. Direct rivals, right? But one of them plays for a much bigger team and gets far more credit. However, let's look at a few of the stats. Richarlison, more goals this season, more goals per match, more minutes per goal, a better shooting success as well. On the flip side of this, Firmino's having more shots and more shots on target. So then we look a bit further forward and as well, and this is a massive one. This is a massive one. Team play, right? Firmino, more assists. Richarlison, bigger chances created. Firmino has far more of the ball, but I think in a team like Liverpool, they have far more of the ball, much more of the ball. So I think you can kind of understand the stats. But when it comes to defending, this I always found really interesting. So Richarlison beats Firmino in the likes of blocks, interceptions, tackles won, clearances, headers, aerial battles won, everything else around the rest of the pitch. When it comes to actually digging in, incredible work rate and helping the rest of the team, not just offensively, Richarlison completely obliterates Firmino, literally in all of these stats. Whether or not these are important, you could say, oh, Firmino's not supposed to do that, he's a striker. Then we lead back to the original point where Firmino's not scoring the amount of goals that a striker does. So, I can see, even though that was a lot of stats to throw at you guys, why potentially you could think Firmino is a little bit overrated. I'm saying a little bit. I'm not saying massively because I still think he's a great striker. But yeah, I can get aboard with a little bit of that opinion from Sabyasachi Das. Anyway, moving on, Jeremy Lavelle's written in saying Pavard is extremely underrated. It should be recognised more for his consistency with Bayern. This is actually just a massive problem with defenders. Loads of you spoke about it when the Ballon d'Or was on, like December, January, saying basically, will we ever see another defender win the Ballon d'Or? Because Van Dijk had an unreal year last year, still lost out to Lionel Messi. The last defender to win it was Fabio Cannavaro in 2006, and that's when he lifted the World Cup with Italy. Basically, defenders are just consistently underrated because they don't do the glamorous things. That's pretty much the be-all and end-all of it. Like, Pavard's been brilliant for Bayern Munich, right? Really consistent season, really good at filling in multiple roles in the Bayern Munich defence. But yeah, he just doesn't do the exciting stuff that, you know, Lewandowski or Alphonso Davies or Kingsley Coman, Serge Gnabry, whoever, Thomas Müller, what they do. So, unfortunately, he's probably not going to be as recognised, although he does do a fantastic job. Look, there's a reason that they paid 35 million for him, because they could see how much of a brilliant player he was, and he showed it in the World Cup with France as well. Next up, and sticking with the underappreciation of defenders, Super Matteo has written in saying, as are modern days academies giving more importance to attackers rather than defenders? Like you said in your Q&A videos, modern defenders are good with the ball, but not that good with defensive aspects. Nowadays, fullbacks are good in attack, but not on a defensive perspective. Your take on this? I'm not so sure that academies are necessarily, again, from someone who doesn't work in the academy, not necessarily giving more importance to the attackers. I just think that if a player has more attacking qualities, it's probably looked on better than someone who's got no attacking qualities and can, let's say, just defend. Like, if you walked into a Premier League academy as a defender who could, you know, time a really good tackle, brilliant in the air, quick, good on the recovery, all these things would be brilliant. But then if you were useless at playing out from the back, which you see a lot of Premier League teams do, or pretty poor in possession in the football, which is really important these days, it's probably likely to be a massive in your against column. I think more so than an attacker who's got all the ability but can't really defend. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not so sure. I think there probably is more of an importance because in that case, you wouldn't bring through players who are so good on the ball. Players like Trent Alexander-Arnold. We've all seen that he may have one or two defensive issues that he's probably not quite strong as, but when he comes into the academy and he can do all sorts of wonderful things attacking-wise from fullback, from the right-back position, they're going to absolutely love him and probably overlook the defensive bits. Whereas if he's a great defender but can't really do much going forward, yeah, he may be overlooked somewhat. I'm not saying this is a blanket rule by any stretch of the imagination. If any of you are academy coaches out there, let us know in the comment section, of course. But I think it's a really interesting take. And what Matteo was talking about the other day, and what I was speaking about in my Q&A, is that I think attackers are adding so many more bows to their arrow. These days, attackers can do so much on the pitch. There's so many more options for beating a defender. And whereas a defender's pretty much still got the same job as 20, 30, 40 years ago, which is, you know, stopping them get the ball in the back of the net. I think, yes, defenders can improve physically. Basically, Van Dijk has an advantage by being an absolute monster, but not everybody is like that. And I think forwards are getting bigger, stronger, fitter, left foot, right foot in the air. Cristiano Ronaldo, always talk about it, is the epitome of the modern day striker. There's literally nothing you can do. Like, if you close off one route, he'll do another. Right, next up, Gareth De Silva. If Aston Villa kept Tammy Abraham, they would survive in the Premier League. Probably. He was brilliant on loan for them in the Championship, and he's shown at Chelsea he's definitely a top 4 striker. So, yeah, if Aston Villa had a top 4 striker, they'd be in fine form. It's unfortunate what happened to Wesley. I mean, he didn't really score too many goals and then got injured for Aston Villa, and yeah, it's difficult. I mean, Samatta's come in and scored a few. No way near enough, though, to keep Aston Villa within a really good chance. They've got a fighting chance of surviving relegation. They are in the relegation zone at the moment, but it could be a lot clearer if they had a better goal scorer in their ranks. I agree with you. And lastly but not least, Kenny Jong has said, hey, Matt, you said the other day that Premier League will be played behind closed doors. What's the point? Then they're not going to shake hands, but football is a contact game. He's talking about them high-fiving and testing positive for corona. The whole point behind closed doors is just so that the fans don't spread the disease. It's not so that the players don't spread it, because obviously, let's face it, players being a high priority, a celebrity, a very wealthy section of the of English society, they'll get tested at the club. Everyone, we spoke about on the Daily News as well today, everyone who goes into these quarantine-style camps, if that's the way the Premier League are going to finish the season, will be checked. They'll have regular coronavirus checks. Everything will be clean. They'll be kept isolated within the team. They'll go to the stadium, they'll play the match, and then they'll go back to the camp again. There's not really so much to do with the players getting coronavirus, but the fans spreading it. And basically, when you think about it, there's been so many cases of this disease in England, right? It's topping like 60,000 or something, potentially, if you're taking the unknown as well. That's like one football stadium filled. Imagine if one of those people went and then everyone else got it. You could literally double the count by going to one football stadium. So yeah, it's not such a great idea for the fans to be there behind closed doors. There obviously will be other people there, like match day staff and cameras and coaching staff and directors and camera operators and the guys in Stockley Park for VAR. But yeah, I think it's more to do with the fans rather than the players getting coronavirus themselves. Anyway, thank you so much for all of your opinions. As always, this has been TFW on a Monday afternoon, and on a Sunday evening on the YouTube community tab is where you can find the post to leave all of your thoughts on the weekend's football. So we'll be back next Monday, but obviously there's loads of other content coming out on Onefootball, which you can find by clicking here or here. Anyway, that's all from me. Until next time, I will see you guys later.